Hello and welcome to the Temple of Tomes with your host, Indie Comics Jones. Today is April 2nd, 2021, and this is episode 258. We're looking at the Courier today. This is a Zenoscope comic. It is the third issue it's the final of three issues, I should say, in this arc, A Liberty and Death. And I've been enjoying this. Just a fun comic, just in this dystopian future, 80 years in the future or so, where a virus has been unleashed and it's killed off most of the population, and there's small outposts everywhere. Philadelphia is now called Liberty, and that's kind of more of like a big forted city. It's got walls all the way around it, and you have groups of like primal humans and primal mutants that are just blood crazed cannibals. So a lot of stuff going on here. The courier, of course, is Eve Harper, and she goes from town to town on a motorcycle most of the time, delivering information or goods. So pretty action packed. She's been in a lot of trouble this whole arc, though, and so she hasn't delivered too many packages. Mostly she's going from place to place, fleeing for her life or trying to help people out. But it's been a good series so far. This one finished up. It is a bigger issue. It's got 36 pages in it, and it came in at $5.99. And the cover is just kind of a amalgamation of all the stuff that's going on. But she has been pretty beat up so far. So we started off. Let's take a look to see who worked on this first. We get a little blurb about everything. She really doesn't look like that. She has a much younger portrayal of her there, and that was the first issue of this arc for the cover for that. Here's the variant cover for this issue right here. Ralph Tedesco did the writing on it. The artwork was done by Oliver Borges. The colors by Frank Gamboa, with looks like J.C. Ruiz, maybe. Letters by Carlos M. Mangual. I hope I got that right. Rachel Bishop was the editor on this. So it picks up right where we kind of left off, where they are in the divinity camp. These are the primitive people. They're kind of like starting their own tribe again. And they've been put in like a Thunderdome cage against some primals. And at first there was like 4 or 5 of them to start. Now it's just down to 2. It's Glenn and Eve are the only ones left. And things aren't looking good. Suddenly a song breaks out. It looks like an AC/DC song. They do have a spear on hand, and Glenn's able to spear one of them. But what has happened is Eve's remote-controlled, well, it's not remote control, it's actually a AI drone has found her. It's got kind of knocked out of the air by a electronic impulse, but it has regained its balance, and it drops her a revolver, where she goes diving for it here. Now she's got blood on her face because she actually bit open the jugular of one of these primals in the last issue. There's a lot of gore going on, as you can see. She's able to shoot one right through the head. And this is part of the atonement process by the divinity, making them go through all this murder and gore and stuff to see if they are good enough to be let go. However, the way they did it, they are not allowed to leave. So the name of this AI is Artie, by the way, and Artie is able to escape after they try another electronic pulse on it. So they talk to the main guy, and his name is Carver, and he just says, you know what, you didn't win fairly, but we'll get back to them in a second, because we're going to go back to Longview now. Now, Longview is one of the outposts, and they were, when we last left them, they had a bunch of primals gathering outside the fence there. First they thought there were 6, then they thought there was 9. Now it appears there's quite a few more. And excuse me. And the problem here is they are out of ammunition. And so Morgan, who's kind of the leader of the outpost, he says, well, let's use our silent weapons first, not realizing how many of them there are. So they go out in the truck. Two of them go out in the truck to kind of draw the attention away from the houses. And it works for a while. But things start going crazy. They've got their kids in a basement underneath one of the houses to keep them safe. As you can see, they're shooting bows and arrows from above. And the arrows don't seem to have much effect on them. And it hits some of them, but it doesn't stop them. Some are just bouncing off. They're just ripping them out. In the meantime, the two folks in the car are getting, the bars are getting bent off the windows. And this guy that's been shooting arrows has been spotted, and these things just go right up the side of the house and take him down pretty easily. So then they decide we better go with the guns. And then this guy up in one of the lookout towers just saying, "There's more coming." So they go out with one of the guns, I guess, and she's out to check out what's going on. She's left the kids down here in this basement, and suddenly she sees one of them coming out the outside and busts through, and she drops the pistol. But the kids, being kids, are not going to stay back, and one of them comes out and picks up the pistol and shoots the creature before it kills this woman here. So then all the kids have the guns, and they start passing them out to the grown-ups, and they say, "Let's go. We got to help the people out in the truck." They go running out there and start blasting everybody, but they're using up a lot of ammo. As you can see here in this one, they're just boom, 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 boom. So they're running low on ammo here. Finally, it looks like they've got everybody, all the primals, out of the way. So they feel okay for now. Now we cut back to the Divinity compound where the leader, Carver, once hasn't figured out what to do with them because he thought they'd die in the Thunderdome type thing. So he says, put them in their cell. We'll continue with their atonement in the morning. And Glenn and Eve get the jump on the guards, and they're able to take Carver hostage and get a vehicle to get out of the Divinity compound and make a run for it. So Artie's up in the sky above them, giving him information on who's following him and telling him what direction to go, which is pretty cool. Then we're at the wreckage site. This is where the whole arc started. There was a convoy of trucks, and somehow they got attacked by, I'm not sure who sent them, actually. That's still kind of a mystery, this whole thing. There's a couple things that were not resolved in the arc, but one of them was who attacked them. And while they were fighting it out, the primals came and attacked both groups. And it kind of happened like 2 more times after this because people were still trying to go back and get some of the cargo that was on board. And there's something very important that this guy, Russell Gillings, is looking for, and it wasn't there. He still can't find it. But he figures it's at Longview, where they just had the primal attack because that's the closest compound to where this wreckage is. So they figure at Longview that everything is okay. They only lost 1 person. They have a few wounded. But they say, hey, there's a convoy coming. And he says, what, is it primals? He says, no, it's 5 trucks. So that's worse because they know it's this guy here. And he acts like a mob leader, so to speak. He demands protection money for them. And in the meantime, our truck with the Carver in the back, we have Glenn here, and he's starting to fade. He actually passes out, and Carver grabs the gun. Eve slams on the brakes, which knocks Carver into the front seat, and she's able to get the gun back and just hold him hostage. She drives to another compound or outpost called Augusta, and there she meets up with Renata, and Renata agrees to take this Carver on, and she gives him a big crack in the head. So we don't know what really happens with Carver after that. But meanwhile, it's getting dark back at the wreckage site. Eve is there. She's checking out things, and she notices things are kind of missing here. There's things going on. So she's able to get her bike back, her motorcycle, because it was left behind when they got captured by Divinity. and she's making her way to Longview, where Morgan, who's the leader of the Longview clan, is getting beat up pretty badly by Gillings and his henchmen. So she makes her way back towards Longview. In the meantime, Morgan gives up. He doesn't want to give up what cargo they have. They never tell us what was in the cargo that was so precious to Gillings, which kind of kills me. But this woman here spills the beans of what it is. Please don't hurt anybody else. We'll let you know exactly where the cargo is, and Morgan's not happy about that. So she goes off and tells them. In the meantime, things get worse for the inhabitants of Longview, as Gillings is just on a kind of gone crazy as Eve Harper shows up to Longview. They let her in and check her for weapons. They get a weapon off her. And then they get this cat and mouse game where she is told, Eve's brother is told to kill Morgan, and because Eve's brother Liam works for Gillings, and he's like, "What? I don't want to." And they say, "No, don't." And so a young girl speaks up, says, "No, Dad." And Gillings figures out that's her daughter, so he makes a deal that if you come to the city, I won't hurt your father. And so that's kind of this deal. And then all these deals start getting made that they're all bad for the people of Longview. So then Liam is told, originally he was told to kill Morgan, but he didn't want to do it. And then Eve is told, okay, you have to choose who dies, Morgan or your brother. If you don't make a decision, we're going to kill everybody in Longview. So she makes the decision to have her brother killed, and much to her chagrin, Gillings does it. So it's just kind of very kind of heartbreaking there, and just like, oh, this is getting worse. Well, she jumps over and attacks Gillings one last time. As best she can, tries to gouge his eyes out, but she gets caught and pulled away. And then Gillings takes a big buck knife out and just stabs her with it. So Eve Harper's laying there, like he leaves her kind of to die, or just at least in pain, and he drives off. So she's with her brother, and she's pretty much mortally wounded at this point if she doesn't get help soon. Then we speed forward to a month later, and this is in the town of Liberty, where Ada, who's the sister of Gillings, who's got kind of a cobra tattoo on the back of his head, they received this photo, and it's of Eve and Liam, and then Gillings and his sister Ada. And Ada's kind of like the brains of the whole city, and their faces are crossed out. He says, "Who brought this?" The Courier was here, and so he thinks it's Eve Harper, and it turns out it's not. It's some other one. And she says, "I don't know. I just picked this up and I'm delivering it. I just picked it up from one place and I was told to bring it here." But in the meantime, she's actually done some recon of what's going on with Morgan's daughter and what's going on with the other inhabitants in Liberty as well. And she reports back to Eve, who is on the road to recovery here. And Eve just kind of ends this arc saying she wants vengeance. So they're going to come up with a new arc, but it won't be till 2022. So we'll have to wait a while for that to come out. Now there is a trade paperback for the Courier. This was I believe it was the set of the arc before this. I don't know if it contains the origin stories or if it's just the arc before that, but that is now available. Apparently they collect volume 1, so I'm assuming the origin stories are in there as well. It's stories 1 through 5, or issues 1 through 5. So let's see what else Zenoscope's got going on. We had Belle. We actually reviewed Thunders of the Gods. Unfortunately, I could not give it a recommend. Robin Hood, we reviewed this one. Cult of the Spider Queen, we did give it a recommend. Joe Brucia, it was just a one-shot. And this was a one-shot as well. So if you do like Belle, maybe you'd like that. If you do like Robin Hood, you'll definitely like this. Just a one-shot, and we introduce the Spider Queen, and she was not killed off, so she may return again in a future arc. And then we have our virtual cons for 20, our list. I think we've gone through some of these already. Next one, let's see, April 22nd and 23rd. So that's coming up. We get one last shot at Robin Hood. Looking pretty good. And then GC, what is that called? CGC, okay. And it does get the good excavating seal of approval. It is a recommend. There is some stuff that was unresolved, which was a little bit, what do you want to call it? Confusing why they didn't resolve it, but maybe it's going to show up in 2022 if you can remember what wasn't resolved. We still don't know what the mysterious cargo was. We don't know if Carver is dead or alive, and we don't know to the extent what's going on in the Liberty City. So those things are still kind of hanging out there, and now Eve Harper is being chased not only by the residents of Liberty City, but also the Divinity Tribe. So they want her scalp as well. So lots to go on, but this is a recommend. You have to get all 3 issues really to understand this. But thanks for stopping by and listening to this review. As always, please like, please subscribe if you haven't, please leave comments, and we'll see you next time at the Temple of Tomes with your host, Indie Comics Jones, and I am bidding you adieu.